another data breach, this time by state-owned telecoms in Indonesia, PT
Wow.
Telkom Indonesia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SecurityLah Podcast, Season 2.
Indonesia's internet service and state utility. So, a data breach of this state-owned telecoms firm. And Communications Ministry officials said in a statement, the ministry has summoned representatives from Telkom and PLN. Is it one organization or two? Seems to be
Two.
Yeah, seems to
like
be
two. Yeah.
two separate organizations, but whether the same culprits, whether the same people are involved
The
or
threat
responsible.
Yeah, whether it's the same threat actors or different threat actors.
Yeah, so that remains to be seen, yeah, because like from the article which I'm reading, not much is being shared because this data breach is actually pretty new, right, Doc?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Just yesterday, ma.
Yeah, it's very, very new. And interestingly, it's the ministry comms people that's actually announcing it. So and also I believe that there was a press release in Reuters that Telkom spokesperson said that there is actually no breach of IndiHome. I think IndiHome is their home broadband services customer data. So it's interesting. In one hand, you have the ministry people like in Malaysia we call it MCMC, who's actually making this announcement. Wow, that's interesting. And PLN is what? Perusahaan Listrik Negara. So
is that Indonesian for electric?
I
No.
think not sure. I am not sure, to be honest. So I'll have to Google it to find out.
Let me try doing that.
Yes, you're right. It's electric. Berhubung dengan kehadiran dan aliran muatan listrik. Listrik menimbulkan pelbagai anyway, it's electromagnetism. That's what they're saying, listrik. But it sounds to me like electric.
Okay.
Yeah, electromagnetism.
So what are the main things which pop out for both of you cybersecurity experts about this particular breach? It's Indonesian and it's a breach that involves like state-owned organizations and even one utility company. What pops out for you besides that?
The first thing that any Asian company does when they say they're breached. No, we're not breached. it's so obvious, right?
Yeah.
They always tell you that there's no data leak.
Yeah, and then after that they say, oops, by the way, before you say anything, we take your security very seriously, your data is very important.
We can ask Kat to record that.
Yeah, your data is very important to us, no. But by the way, you may have missed a little bit of information, nothing so big, So that might be the end game that might come out of it. But Indonesia is no stranger to data leaks. Remember, we actually covered Indonesia in one episode where Joko Widodo, the Prime Minister of Indonesia, his personal data relating to COVID-19 tracking was out in the open because there was a breach on the contact tracing app. I think this is something that Sky, you're very passionate about, how you passionately hate contact tracing apps, and I have to agree with you, man.
Yeah.
It's just a huge data disaster.
Oh, that day I wasn't allowed to enter a building because I didn't show them my Sajatra. I was like, huh? Are we still looking at this?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I find it odd. It's like, hello, I can show you my Sajatra app or whatever app I use for contact tracing. I don't update it. It's as good as green all the time. And
Yeah.
which is what the local ministry folks were
I'm-
saying. Said we may have a lot more cases, but people are not reporting because they're not putting it in the contact tracing app. So
yeah,
it's
when
a,
I say yeah, doesn't mean I'm not putting in lah. I mean, don't want to get caught for the saying that.
Sky, we know you're honest, so
No.
don't need to worry about that, right?
Mm,
We're cybersecurity professionals. We follow by ethics, so non-issue.
mm,
But back to this Indonesian incident. I mean, to me, it's surprising that a ministry staff sharing this and met with a counter report saying that there was no breach.
mm,
So either somebody didn't get the memo to say you're not supposed to release this information out, and yet they did, and now
mm.
they're kind of like backpedaling to sort this out, rather than actually say what actually happened. Or maybe they're at an early phase of a breach where, now they've discovered it. They're trying to do some investigation to
You see,
uncover details.
the whole issue is when one ministry says that two agencies have data breach, then you want to think what's the connection between both of these agencies that has a similar area of breach? Because PT Telkom is obviously a telco, and PLN is obviously a utility.
Yeah,
So
true.
if you look at it from that angle, then my question to the Indonesian ministry is that all? Because it looks like there is a central connection between all agencies and you only found two. I don't know. This is what I see when I read this small little article.
I also
Okay.
feel that maybe the ministry is the central point for them to report any issues. Just to share, the Indonesia has been trying to put in a bill just for this purpose. They've had it going since 2020, but there seems to be no progress. So most likely, I think from a regulator perspective, the regulators most likely trying to pull everyone together and say, hey, you guys got to coordinate this kind of issues through me, not anyone else. So it's more of how the legal system in Indonesia, they're trying to, somehow manage this within their regulatory framework, and
Okay.
get everyone to work together lah.
Want to take any bets on how things are going to pan out, and like what the headlines or the announcements from these three parties are going to be in the next few days or in the coming weeks? Any bets?
I'm just going to say weeks, not days.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to be too proactive when it comes to a breach, and
The-
usually investigation takes time.
Yeah, the telco already say they don't have, but the utility company haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait for them to really
Yeah.
come back and say this is what happened.
Mm.
And that's the thing, and I've been repeating this in a few episodes, is that the common behavioral pattern I see in organizations, first thing is deny. That means nothing happened. So it can either be an outright explicit deny or an implicit deny. So in one of the episodes we spoke about IP88. That's where I call it as an implicit deny. I don't say anything, I wait 3 months, then I make an announcement. So that would be something that I would say implicit deny. No one knows, but I'm just keeping quiet lah, so that the issue goes away. Here they are explicitly saying, no, there's no breach, it doesn't affect customer data. But then you see that's the funny thing. They're saying that it doesn't affect customer data. Does it affect billing data?
Enjoying the show so far? Subscribe now so that you don't miss out on the latest episode. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many other platforms. Visit podcast.securitylah.asia to get the links to subscribe.
We don't know. Does it affect usage data? We don't know, because telcos use something called CDRs, call detail records. Call detail records tells you what is the utilization, what time they log in, how many bytes that was transferred in, out, and all that. So those are CDRs, and the CDRs are then processed by the billing platform for them to determine how to bill the customer. So, for example, in a broadband scenario, they may have buckets. So one bucket may say social media. So every month, social media, I give you 1 gig, and then maybe I don't know, Skype free 10 hours, and then the rest will go into their generic internet usage. So the billing has to go through these complex rule sets of packaging before deciding, how much a person pays for their internet package. So then you don't know, did the CDR gets lost, or did someone put a packet sniffer in the network, and you now have this whole set of packets that's been captured in the network that someone took out.
Yeah.
So while it gives some information what's not stolen, doesn't really give you a complete picture, right, from a telco perspective, because there's so much of other data that's accumulated inside that we don't know. It may be even a call information, someone making a call through their broadband connection, right? Now you have VoIP and all that. Nobody gets a physical phone line anymore. Everyone goes through data. So even your phone line also goes through that same fiber or whatever network that you have. So maybe that data, you never know.
Doc, is CDR call data records considered personal data?
Yes and no. Why I say yes and no is because, number one, if it's just given a CDR, you have no other ways to identify who that number belongs to, then it's not really personal data. I had the same debate with the former commissioner of PDP, the JPDP, and we came to a conclusion that phone numbers on its own is not personal data. Why? Very simple. Phone numbers can change ownership.
True.
So today I can go to any telco, whatever number you get today, I can say 90% it's most likely recycled. So I just got a number about a couple of months ago just to do some testing. The number was recycled. Until today, I'm still getting SMS notifications in that number for somebody else's bank transactions. The funny thing, I called the bank, I told them, I said, this is an FSA violation. Well, they don't seem to be worried so much. So,
I think,
so I'm still,
Sky has, sorry. Yeah.
so I don't know how else to treat this, and unless if I go straight to the regulator and say, hey, your licensee is not following what they're supposed to do in FSA, can you please tell them to back up,
Okay. Before Sky comes forward with his wisdom, many years of wisdom as Doc has, I'm going to take a stab at this, because this reading the report, it reminds me of a breach that Malaysia actually underwent earlier this year, whereby there was actually a common infrastructure that government agencies were actually tapping into. So it wasn't just one agency that was affected, but as time went by, a longer and longer list of agencies were found to actually have been affected. Could this also be the case? Could this be actually how this is going to pan out for this particular case as well?
Thank you, Kat. That's exactly what I was trying to say just now.
Okay.
Seriously, you pick two agencies which has no connection with one another. It's obvious that there's a central place that has been breached, and you can see that, I can see two is affected, but it could be more, because I don't know. Now it could be an API thing that we used to experience before, where the connectivity is drawing data from the central database and linking it to both the telco side as well as the utility side.
No, absolutely agreed. Because the thing is the common thing that, so for example, you have one utility company, they most likely have SCADA systems, and the SCADA systems may be connected over telecommunications network. I mean, at this point, we are purely theorizing. So it may or may not be the actual situation, but there are overlaps. So for example, ICS systems, industry control systems, will use telco to overlay the network in order for them to communicate to each other, especially if you have remote sites, right? Otherwise, you're going to have an engineer there doing all the work on site, which doesn't make sense. So if you have remote sites and they are overlaid over communications network, either MPLS or private circuit or whatever, then you still have that telco part, right? So assuming we take the scenario where the state utility company gets breached first, they'll say, I got this telco network. And then when they play around the telco network, telco network itself got vulnerability. That's it. So then it may be one scenario which overlap the two organizations, or it may just be two separate organizations, two separate different scenarios, maybe the same threat actor, or maybe a different threat actor.
So with this thing in mind, and our 42 million records breach a couple of years back, should our Tenaga Nasional Berhad be afraid?
Well,
because we only have 33 million people in the country.
Yes, 32.7 actually, based on the last reported number.
But the breach record is 42 million. I mean, seriously.
No, okay, if it's telco, I can explain why.
Okay,
because some people will have more than one SIM cards. So for example, me, I've counted, I have over 4 SIM cards, and 1 eSIM. Because I have iPad lah, I got my connected car lah, this lah, that lah. So I have quite a number of SIM. So I know why people have multiple SIMs, because you may have multiple devices, you may want to have a SIM on those devices. So you do have multiple SIMs, which means that you may even have a 20 million physical customer base, actual people holding double the number. In fact, the last time before I left the telco, we calculated based on the numbers we had, it was almost close to everyone up to a baby to have a SIM card. That's how, like what you said, 20 million base, 40 million SIM card. So yeah, it makes sense, right? Because people now, they have multiple lines, they use one for iPad, they even have eSIM for their Apple Watch, iPads, whatever not. I mean, there's so many other factors where you can use a telecommunications line on. So it's sky's the limit lah. You are the limit.
Okay, you mentioned something really intriguing, eSIM. I don't know, maybe one of these days we should talk about eSIM. And
we should.
Whether that is going to be foolproof or not, or even put us into a greater risk.
Yeah, we should. So we'll cover a bit about eSIM and whether that works. So, but for us to actually look into eSIM, we need to understand how the whole SIM module works in a telecoms environment. So I'll probably have to do like a 50 or 100 feet overview of how your mobile works. Probably a little bit of technical jargon. We can cover that so that our listeners understand how exactly it works, right? So then people get a better idea as to why you need a physical SIM or why you don't need a physical SIM, and you can make that decision based on your device or how you have it, right? So I guess we've covered a fair bit about this, and there's really very limited information. So we hope to get more information, then we can deep dive and probably have some lessons learned or identify some IOCs that we can use here in Malaysia or Singapore or even in Indonesia or India, so we can better protect ourselves. So we'll keep a lookout on this issue.
Okay.
All right,
good. So let's keep that in the burning.
Yes, we'll keep it in the wheel.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, gentlemen. Pleasure talking with both of you as always.
Thanks. See you guys.
Yes. So please make sure you come for the next one, huh?
Yes, SecurityLah team, come on, miss you. Come back soon.
Thanks for joining us this week on SecurityLah. Make sure to visit our website at SecurityLah.asia, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show.